This is my tutorial on how to make a lightweight Medusa headdress. Everything that I purchased for this piece came from Amazon, so hopefully it will be very easy for you to find everything you need. Okay, our first step is making the shell that we're attaching all of the tubing to. We're going to do this by taking a trash bag and cutting it, then laying that over the top of your head and taking your masking tape and applying that to the top of the bag. I want to start with my hairline first and then just put strips all across it until you have a shell. It will come off as a shell, as you can see, and then you're just going to trim the excess. There's quite a bit that I had hanging over, so I cut that off, and then I took any areas that needed some touching up and I just went back and I added some more tape to those spots. If you want to do it a little bit stronger, you can use duct tape. That works great too. I specifically chose to use black tape because I knew I wanted the shell to be black, but you could always use regular colored tape and then paint it afterwards. So we're ready to add our snakes. You're gonna take a length of your mesh tubing and then a small square of duct tape, put that on the back, and then add your hot glue to it. I don't necessarily need the duct tape here, but I like it because I want to push down on this after I put the glue on it, and the duct tape does help protect your fingers. Also, a little water helps that too. They do sell silicone little covers for your hands if you want to use those, but just dipping your fingers in water is helpful too. So now you're just going to apply all of these strands of Cyberlocks along the back of the mold that you made. Make sure that you're thinking about sort of the way that a wig is made when you're doing this, the way that the hair would fall. You want it straight down on the back, but when you get to your ears, it's going to lay a little differently. So when I had the shell on my head, I marked where my ears were, so that way I could work kind of in between those two spots initially. And then when I moved into the areas where my ears are, I kind of changed up the direction that I was laying the tubing at.
So I bought this sun crown from Amazon. That's what I used last time. It was basically just because I wanted to save time. This is very easy to make. These are literally just wooden skewers. These are like basically wooden beads, and you know, it's just a headband. So if you don't want to spend the money, you can definitely make your own. It depends, I guess, if you're more interested in saving time or saving money. But here's our crown. Okay, so this is how we would do an end that needs a tail. So keep in mind that the weight of the rubber snake is going to add a lot of length to whichever one you pick. So I'm picking a shorter one because I know it's going to be a little bit heavier. So basically I don't want to add very much weight at all because every little bit adds up as you're doing it. So I'm just going to cut basically to, I don't know, where the diameter kind of makes sense. I want to have something to attach to. So right there, there's my end. So I'm just going to put it inside the tubing, and then I'm going to glue it. So just keep going like this. Do your rubber tails and your rubber heads, just making sure to kind of pinch it nice and tight. Okay, we're at the point where we can address this crown. So when I was buying the supplies, I wanted the same stuff that I used for the first headdress I made, and that was this. I bought this because I was trying to save time. I knew I wanted a crown and I didn't want to take the time to make one. I like the look of this, so this is what I ended up with. It's pretty inexpensive, but like I said, more than anything, I just wanted to save time. You could make this. It is literally just a headband, wood skewers, and wooden beads. But it kind of ended up being pointless because I didn't really like it when I got it into the wig. I thought it was too wide, so I chopped it up and made my own shaped one anyway. Now, obviously, if you like the look of it and you bought this, keep it like this if this is the look you're after. But for me, I don't like how wide it is, so I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the first headdress I made. I'm going to take this off, I'm going to chop it up, reshape it, and then paint it, put it back on. I'm literally just cutting this up at the areas that I thought were too wide and just reattaching things, adding skewers, adding beads, you know, whatever you think looks nice. There's really no wrong way to do this. Just whatever design you think is going to look nice on your headdress.
The first headdress I made had a gold crown, but I thought more of a copper rose gold might be nice here.
So now we're gonna address our ends. I've already done a couple of them. So there's a mixture of things that are going on here. We're either going to add a rubber tail, we're gonna add a rubber head, we're gonna turn it in on itself, make it snaky and glue it back to the cap, or we're gonna do this method that I'm gonna show you right now. So previously, if you had reached out to me for written instructions, I'd put a little piece of wire inside any of the tubes that didn't have a head or a tail on it, just to give it some weight so it would lay a little heavier. I don't think that that's necessary, so I've eliminated that step. Now we're just going to close them up with no weights inside. Like I said, I don't think it's necessary. So just kind of give it a little pull, add your glue, and then just go with my fingers and pinch, pinch, pinch. So we just close up that end. All right, now that it's closed, you're just gonna cut it at an angle. So we just have a point now. So it's a nice way of closing it up that doesn't really add any weight, and it's no longer just an open tube. Okay, so I've gotten to the point where I think every end that I had is closed up somehow. It's either got a head, a tail, or it's looped back around. So we're ready to do a coat of spray paint. The parts where I've closed up the tails are a little bit messy looking now. They need to be painted, and then, you know, the snake heads and tails also need to be painted. I think I'm gonna do black for this one. The other one was black and green. I might wanna do a different color. I don't know, I haven't decided yet. So we're gonna do a coat of black first, see how it looks, and then I'll decide if I wanna do some color tinting.
There's not really a right or wrong way to do this. You're just gonna flop it around and hit any areas that you see that need to be coated.
Okay, so the headdress is coated black. I've hit every area that looked like it needed it. So now we're ready for the color. I'm going to use Color Shift spray paint because the green that I bought for the last one is no longer available. So I gotta kind of change it up, which I'm happy to because the stuff is great. Yeah, it's supposed to go over black. So you'll see it's gonna kind of give it a little bit of a sheen while still giving it a green color to it. Okay, so we've done some painting on the wig here and put the crown on to see how I like it. I think it's a little bit plain. I don't know, I might try to add a few more embellishments to it, make it a little bit more interesting. Okay, so I added a little more to my crown. It wasn't quite fancy enough, honestly. I didn't think so. I added a couple more skewers and some jewelry that I had laying around. So I'm just gonna paint it again, and then we'll put it back on. So there is our crown all painted. Pop back on. I also did the painting on the detail that I did at the top of the head there, and that Color Shift spray paint worked out really well. I know it looks like I painted the top of this with the same color as the crown, but that's actually the Color Shift paint. It's a copper green. So depending on the angle that you look at this at, all of those snakes are either going to appear to be black, green, or like a coppery color, which I think works really, really well with not just kind of the theme of the whole thing, but also with the color of the crown. Worked out great. Okay, here's the original headdress. Now, there's a step that I skipped, which I had intended to do basically first. It's putting these combs in. The reason why is because this is what I did last time. I realized that I needed them at the end, so I ended up taping them in. My plan initially was to not do it that way. I wanted to sew it in. Now, I still could sew it in, but it's gonna be a pain in the ass. So I'm gonna do it like I did this time, and I'm gonna tape it in. But just to give you a heads up, you might wanna do that before you put all your snakes on so you can sew it through the tape in the bag. All right, so these combs are gonna work really, really well for keeping this in place on your head. like I said, I wanted to sew them in. That is the better way to do it. But since I forgot, I'm gonna do it like I did it last time. So I'm gonna pop out the middle part so that I have a place to put my tape. Just break them off. And then just gonna take duct tape and I'm gonna tape it to the inside.
The pack that I bought came with 6 combs. I was gonna use 2, but 1 is actually plenty.
This is the original headdress. As I'm coming to the end of this tutorial, there are a couple things that I've decided not to do. So I just want to tell you about them so you can, if you want, choose to do them on your own. One of the things I mentioned before is adding weight to the ends of our tails. I put wire in the ends so that way, number one, that they would hang a little bit longer because, you know, Cyberlocks, it's kind of bunched up on its own, so it does make it longer, makes it look heavier, all of that. But also I wanted it to have a little bit of a curve to it, so I thought wire would help do that. Number one, I don't love the look of it. Number two, it's just unnecessary. I think it adds just, you know, weight that we don't need. So I eliminated that. And the other thing is these guys. So initially I wanted this headdress to have some snakes that kind of popped straight out of it that look like they're kind of coming at you. I do like the look of them. These were finger puppets. I bought them on Amazon. They're rubber. They're very much like the way that we did the other snakes. It's just attached to the Cyberlocks, but there is a piece of this thick wire, this stuff. It's just threaded through the Cyberlocks. It's attached to the cap, and then the other end is attached to our little finger puppet guy. So I do recommend doing those if you've got the time and you don't mind spending the money, because I do think they add quite a bit to it. But yeah, I was trying to save time with this. Okay, now that our headdress is finished, I'm going to show you how to wear it. I'm not going to go into the outfit, that part's up to you, but think very like Greek lace-up sandals, robes, that sort of thing. But I do want to show you how to wear this. So when I designed it, I had in mind the way that I wanted to wear it on my head. I knew I wanted there to be a nice transition between the wig and the rest of my hair. I didn't want a hard line, so I wanted my hair to be pulled forward. In order to do that, I needed to color it. So first I'm going to show you the way it's pulled back here. I like to do the top separate first, so that way our comb has something to bite onto, and then pull the rest of it back into a bun. If you want to braid it or tease it, even better. That's going to give that comb something to really grip into. But then pull the rest of it back, and then after that's all pulled back, you can color the front. So I just use this root touch-up spray. You can buy this stuff everywhere. They sell it at Spirit, they sell it at drugstores. I bought it on Amazon. Just make sure that you wear gloves when you do it. It is extremely messy. It transfers to everything. If you touch your hair after, it's going to get on your hands. So it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but I do think that it's worth it for the final look. And then after you color it, you're ready to put your headdress on. So I would suggest holding one end, the back of it, with one hand, and then grabbing the comb with your other hand, and then setting it on your head where you want it. I like it kind of a little bit further back, so I'm setting this kind of closer to where that elastic is. And then just give it a little scooch in place. And you're Medusa.